Most car buyers walk into a dealership feeling like the underdog, and that feeling makes sense. You're on their turf. They do this every day. You've done this maybe twice in your life. But here's what that feeling cost you. The moment you believe you have no leverage, you stop looking for it. And when you stop looking for it, you stop using it. The leverage is real. It exists every day, but it only works if you know where to find it. Most people think leverage in a car deal means being aggressive, means arguing, means walking in ready for a fight. So they either come in swinging and it goes sideways, or they avoid the confrontation altogether and they just accept whatever's given. But real leverage in a dealership has nothing to do with personality, nothing to do with how loud you are or how hard you push. Real leverage comes from two things: knowledge and timing. And when those two things align, the entire dynamics of the deal shift. Not because you're forcing it, but because the dealership's own pressure is working against them and working for you. My name is Cedric, 25 years in the car business, and what I'm gonna break down for you in this video is what I call the leverage window, the specific condition that puts the buyer in the strongest possible position before a single number gets written down. By the end of this video, you're gonna understand exactly how dealership pressure cycles work, where inventory and incentives create real opportunity, and how preparation, not aggression, is what actually flips the power dynamic in your favor. This is chapter 2 of the Car Buying Secret series. Let's get into it. Here's something that most buyers never think about. The dealership has its own deadlines, its own targets, its own pressure. Every dealership operates on what I call the quota clock. Hit the number and the dealership earns bonuses, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on top of their normal margins. Miss that number and that money disappears. Here's why that matters for you. As the end of the month approaches and the dealership is tracking short of its targets, the willingness to deal changes. Managers who were firm on Thursday morning become flexible on Saturday evening. Vehicles that had zero room suddenly have room. Deals that felt stuck start moving. The dealership's urgency becomes your leverage. Their clock is your advantage, but only if you know it's running. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but how do I actually know where they are in their month? And how do I know if they're chasing a target? You don't always know exactly, but you don't need to, because the timing strategy I'm about to walk you through positions you to benefit whether they're hitting their number or not. Timing a car purchase strategically can function like a discount without negotiating a single dollar. End of the month. Most well-known window, and it's real. Last 3 to 5 business days of any month, dealerships are the most motivated to close. The quota clock is the loudest here. End of the quarter, even more powerful. Manufacturers evaluate dealer performance quarterly. A dealership chasing quarterly bonuses in the final days of March, June, September, or December is under compounded pressure. Two deadlines converging, monthly and quarterly, creates maximum motivation for dealerships to move metal. Year end, the most aggressive window of all. Unsold inventory sitting on the lot costs the dealership money. Flooring fees, interest they pay the bank for every vehicle that sits. Getting rid of that inventory becomes a priority that goes beyond normal negotiations. Slow months, January and February, highly underrated. Traffic drops, dealerships are sitting on holiday inventory, and the buyers are scarce. That scarcity puts the buyers that show up in a stronger position than they'd ever be on a busy spring weekend. The worst time to buy is a busy spring afternoon after a brand new model just dropped, because every seat on the showroom floor is already taken. The dealership doesn't need your deal when they have 10 other customers waiting. Your leverage disappears the moment they have options. And a buyer who plans their purchase around the leverage calendar walks in with an advantage, because it doesn't matter how well they negotiate. Timing alone is half of it, but there's a second category of leverage that lives inside the deal itself, and most buyers never even know to ask for it. Every major manufacturer runs incentive programs. cashback offers, low APR financing, loyalty bonuses for existing customers, conquest offers designed to pull buyers away from competitor brands, military discounts, graduate programs. These are real dollars, real programs, and most buyers never claim them. Not because they don't qualify, but because nobody told them to ask. I call these invisible incentives, not because the manufacturer hides them, they're published, but because the dealership has zero obligation to volunteer them. But if you don't ask, they don't always offer. You're probably sitting there thinking, wait, the dealership would let me walk out, leaving money on the table that I was entitled to? Yes, because that money doesn't disappear. It either goes to you in the form of a discount, or it stays structured inside the deal in a way that benefits the dealership's margin. The buyer who researches the manufacturer's incentives before stepping foot inside the dealership knows exactly what programs and incentives they qualify for. That knowledge forces the dealership to apply them transparently because the buyer already knows they exist. Here's where to look. Every manufacturer publishes current incentive programs on their website. Edmunds and Car Gurus also aggregate them. 5 minutes of research before your visit can surface thousands of dollars in available programs that never get mentioned at the desk unless you bring them up first. But here's where it all comes together, because knowledge of the quota clock, the leverage calendar, and the invisible incentive is powerful, but only when you combine it with one thing that actually flips the power dynamic. I've watched thousands of deals happen from the inside, and the single most dramatic shift in dealership behavior didn't happen from an aggressive buyer. It happened from a prepared one. The moment a salesperson realizes they're sitting across from someone that knows the process, something changes. The tone shifts, the tactics change, the script, it stops working because the buyer already knows where it leads. This is what I call the prepared buyer effect, and it's the closest thing to a cheat code that exists in a car deal. You know the out-the-door price before you walk in, not the MSRP and not the advertised payment. The total, tax, license, doc fee, registration, everything. You've built that number from research and you're negotiating from it. You have financing already secured. You've been in your bank or credit union. You have an approval letter in hand. The dealership can try to beat it, and sometimes they can. But you have a benchmark, and they can't hide numbers from it. You know what your trade is worth. You've gotten offers from CarMax and Carvana and at least one other source. You're not walking in hoping that the dealership's appraisal is fair. You already know what fair looks like. You've done your timing. You're not shopping on a busy Saturday because you got impatient. You've positioned your purchase in a window where the dealership's own pressure works in your favor. None of that requires you to be aggressive. None of it requires confrontation. It just requires you to show up with information instead of without it. And when you show up that way, the deal that gets built looks completely different than it would have otherwise. Turns out, everything we covered today points to one conclusion, and it's the exact opposite of what most buyers believe going in. Most buyers walking into a dealership thinks the power belongs to the dealership, and for the unprepared buyer, it does. But the prepared buyer has a completely different negotiation. The quota clock is working for them. The leverage calendar has them positioned correctly. The invisible incentives are already on the table because they asked for them. And the prepared buyer effect has shifted the negotiations before the first number ever gets written. The leverage was always there. It was always waiting for someone who knew where to look. That's what this series is built to give you. The knowledge that turns every one of those advantages into a deal that works in your favor. If you want to go deeper on the timing strategy and the incentive research process, I put together a free guide. It's called the 7 Insider Secrets Dealers Don't Want You to Know About. And it covers everything we touched today. It's in a format that you can take with you. Link in the description below. In the next video, I go deeper on the interest rate. We touched on it back in episode 1, how dealers mark up the rate, but that was just the surface. In episode 3, I'm gonna break down the full financing system, how your buy rate actually gets set, what a spot delivery is, and why it's so dangerous, and the one move that neutralizes the entire rate markup game before it even starts. I'll see you there.